Hello dear students, I hope you are all fine. Please stay safe at your home. As we all know, we are going through a serious situation of the spreading of novel coronavirus. Definitely this situation will change and we will meet you soon. As there is no lockdown to our studies, we have to continue it. So welcome back to Bosco Campus Vision, Campus TV channel of Kottayam Don Bosco College. I am Raniya, faculty member of PG Department of English. This time I am here with two new papers for semester 3 MA English students. These two papers are their electives and these papers are European fiction and European drama. I am sharing these two papers with other teachers of our department. In this video lecture, I would like to give you a general introduction of European literature as a whole. So, I think this paper, you will enjoy this paper very much. And let's begin. European literature, simply we can say that literature of Europe. Colloquially it is called Western literature. When we analyze the geographical background of Europe, Europe, as you know, it is one of the 7 continents of the earth. It is situated on the westernmost peninsula of Eurasia and west of Asia. Europe is bordered on the eastern side with Ural Sea and Ural Mountain. On the western side, it is Atlantic Ocean. On the northern side, it is Arctic Ocean, and on the southern side, it is Mediterranean Sea. So, since it is a continent, since Europe is a continent, it comprises of different nations. So, European literature, it is the literature of different languages like French, Dutch, Roman, Italic, Baltic, Slavonic, Mediterranean and even Macedonian. When we analyze the ancient European literature, it comprised of mainly classical literature of Greek and Rome. So, European literature, it is a part of world's literature. For the easiness of learning, we can classify European literature into several periods. First one is Dark Ages, second one is Ancient Classical period, third one is Middle period, fourth one is Renaissance period, fifth one is Enlightenment period, sixth one is Romanticism, seventh one is Naturalism and Realism, eighth one is Victorian, and the ninth one is Modernism, and the last one is Postmodernism. The first period is Dark Ages. The mainstream of European literature dates back 1000 years BC. Palestine and Greek were the ancient civilizations. At that time, Hebrew literature was prominent. Hebrew literature is the literature of ancient Jews. The Old Testament, that means the Bible, was the representative work. Ancient Western civilization has two origins. One is Hellenic tradition and the other one is Hebraic tradition. So, from Hebraic tradition, we got the literary output of the Bible. That is, it is from the Hebrew literature. That is the Bible. It is from the Hebraic tradition. And from the Hellenic tradition, we got the literary output of epic. Okay, the two major ancient epics, the Iliad and Odyssey, considered as written by Homer. These two are the famous representative work of this Hellenic tradition. And when we talk about the Bible, that means the Old Testament, it is considered that this Bible is composed in between 750 BC and 350 BC. And the authorship of the Iliad and Odyssey, that is not constant. It is considered as these two epics were written by Homer. Okay, so these two epics, Iliad and Odyssey, it tells the story of Trojan War. Odyssey is a sequel of Iliad. And later what happens in Dark Ages, another famous writer, that is Hesiod. He is known as the father of Greek didactic poetry, and his major literary output were two major collections, and Works and Days and the Theogony. So these were the major literary output of Dark Ages. Literature of Dark Ages was essentially humanistic in nature. The second period in the history of European literature is ancient classical period. So for the easiness of learning, I classified this ancient classical period into two, ancient Greek period and ancient modern period. So first of all, I would like to discuss with you the ancient Greek period. So ancient Greek period is considered as the time gap in between the birth of Pericles and death of Aristotle. Political and cultural glory of Greece is shown effectively in between the time period of 5th and 4th centuries BC. Greece was centered on Athens, and Athens is considered as the first democratic government in the world. Lyric poetry, pastoral poetry, drama. In drama, especially the divisions tragedy, comedy and satire play. These three were introduced in ancient Greek literature. And Aristotle's Poetics was the important treatise on literary criticism. So these were the major happenings in the history of ancient Greek period. And now let's check what are the literary output and which are the major figures of ancient Greek literature. Okay dear students, here I am giving you an overview of the major writers of ancient Greek period and their literary output. First one is Sappho. She is considered as lived during the time of 600 BC. She was a poet of Lesbos, wrote mainly love poems. She is the earliest known feminine lyric poet. Second figure is Pinter. Pinter was considered as lived in between the period of BC 522 and 438. He was the greatest Greek lyric poet. Third important figure is Theocritus. He was a Greek bucolic poet and he is considered as the father of pastoral poetry. Next important figure in the history of drama was Aeschylus. He is one of the three great tragedians of ancient Greek. His famous works are Ostia and Prometheus Bound. Another important figure was Sophocles. Sophocles also was one of the three tragedians of Greece. Dramatic irony is his master device. He wrote more than 120 plays. Antigone, Oedipus Rex. These two are his important works of Sophocles. Next important figure is Euripides. He is also one of the three tragedians of Greece. His famous works are Medea and Hippolytus. So Sophocles, Euripides and Aeschylus. These three are important tragedians of ancient Greek. Next important figure is Aristophanes. He was a comedian of Greece. He is considered as the father of Greek comedy and prince of ancient comedy. And his major literary output were the clouds and the birds. Another important figure was Herodotus. Herodotus, as we all know, he is the father of history. He carried out several research works on Greek history. Another figure is Demosthenes. He was the greatest orator. Then Plato. Plato was the disciple of Socrates. He is a philosophical thinker. He composed 35 dialogues including Symposium, the Republic, Crito, etc. So Plato was an important philosophical thinker of Greek. Another important figure was Aristotle. Aristotle is a famous person. I hope you all know about him. Aristotle was the disciple of Plato. He was also a philosopher and thinker. He wrote 47 treatises dealing with logic, metaphysics, politics, ethics, poetics, aesthetics, etc. His important work is Poetics. Poetics is a comprehensive analysis of the genre tragedy. So, Greek literature was a free outlet of human feelings and ideas. So, it got a separate position in the history of European literature. Now, let's talk about ancient Roman literature or ancient Roman period. This ancient Roman period is considered as the time period in between BC 264 and BC 146. During this gap, three major wars were happened in between Rome and Carthage, and Rome became a superpower. Later, in 27 BC, the Augustan age began. Augustan age may be familiar to you. So, it is the time period. During that time, the ruler was Octavian Augustus Caesar. So, Augustan age was begun in 27 BC. In AD 251, Goths invaded Rome, and later in 364 AD, the empire was divided. The very famous fall of Roman Empire was in AD 476. Latin is the official language of Rome. When we talk about the literary features of ancient Roman period, ancient Roman literature was simply an imitation of Greek literature. Politically, Rome conquered Greece, but culturally, Greece conquered Rome, because the literary output of Rome were mainly modeled on Greek literature, especially tragedy, comedy, oratory, history, etc. So, ancient Roman literature was based on, or it was modeled on, ancient Greek literature. Now let's check which are the major Roman writers of ancient classical period. The first important figure is Platus. He was a dramatist. His famous work was Amphitryon. It was a play of mistaken identity. Second one is the Braggart Warrior. So Platus' important works are Amphitryon and the Braggart Warrior. So Platus was one of the famous dramatists of ancient classical Roman literature. Second one is Terence. He was also a dramatist, but he was a comedian. His comedies are thoughtful and psychologically refined. His best play is The Eunuch. Eunuch is actually adaptation of Meander's play of the same name. So Terence very famous comedy is The Eunuch. It was actually the adaptation of Meander's play under the same name. Third important figure was Cicero. He was a very great orator and rhetorician of classical period. Another important figure is Lucretius. He was the author of On the Nature of Things based on atomic materialism. The very famous ancient Roman writer was Virgil. He was the greatest poet of the Augustan age and one of the world's most influential literary figures after Homer. His important work is the Aeneid. It was an epic. Another important figure is Horace. Horace was also a Roman poet. He is famous for satire. His important work is Satires, and he referred his 18 sermons in this particular work called Satire. In Roman it is titled Satire. In this particular work he referred 18 sermons. It is presented in the form of little talks on wide variety of subjects. Another important work of Horace is the Ars Poetica, Art of Poetry. It was an epistle. So Horace's important works are Satires and Ars Poetica. Another important figure in the ancient Roman period was Ovid. He is remembered as the author of Metamorphoses. It was a long narrative poem. In the history of tragedy, from Roman literature, we have a very famous figure, that is Seneca. He was a Roman tragedian. He wrote tragedies on violence and bloodshed. Mad Hercules, the Trojan Woman, these two are his important tragedies. So in addition to these writers and writings, Plutarch's Parallel Lives, Longinus on the Sublime, Martial's Epigrams, etc. were also the output of ancient Roman literature. So like Greek literature, Roman literature is also humanistic in nature. It is simply the imitation or emulation of Greek authors, as I told you earlier. So literature of the classical antiquity in the West is literature of humanism, not of theism. So my dear students, I hope you understood various literary features discussed in the first two age of ancient European literature. Let's continue in the next class. See you next time. One thing I would like to remind you, do this homework and send me back through WhatsApp, then only you will get attendance. See you. Have a nice time.